This is a picture I drew of Usopp quite some time ago, but I thought it would be nice considering, he is doing some nice badass type things in this chapter. So, if you like, remember to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
One Piece, Chapter 126, Instinct. Well, hello, my brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, unexpected, and, well, you just can't get rid of me, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the epic and awesome tale of One Piece. Our last episode saw Luffy finally being able to, he was able to ignite the rope. I shouldn't say finally, that was just presented in the last chapter, but he was able to ignite this rope that Usopp had that was soaked in oil, and consequently start a chain reaction of all the wax created by Mr. 3 becoming melted. You know, the candelabra, and of course him and his carapace, his champion, his candle champion armor, and that's how things left off. That's right where things begin, and it's really kind of comical because you just see, like, it's everybody's like, oh, it's hot, and I mean, there's just, you think about it when you light a candle. Well, if you just lit like a candle that was like your entire house, I mean, the whole house would be on fire and hot. So everything has started to melt because of obviously Luffy igniting that and kind of creating the spark and the catalyst. It's really rather comical. Mr. 3 goes and starts going, and it's so hot, obviously, in the candle champion. It's melting, and he has to get out of it. And he goes running off into the jungle, into the woods. And he's like, oh, no, I won't lose. And he goes running off. Luffy and Carue go following him off into the woods. And then we get, and like I said, as everything's kind of melting, and we get the heat, Usopp is, of course, still pinned down and being held down by Miss Valentine. And she's been applying more pressure from her kilo press. So, her and Mr. 5 pretty much agree, like, we can't let them get away. We can't fail our mission again. So she goes and she's like, oh, giving us trouble, eh? And then she goes and she jumps up and she's like, we're going to do the 10,000 kilo guillotine, right? And as she goes to come down, now, of course, the candelabra has melted, and our wax figures of Vivi, Zoro, and Nami, we assume, are going to become free. And that's what winds up happening, is that Vivi comes in and uses that cool spinning, like, pendant chain-looking thing that almost looks like a spear when it starts spinning out, and she just jacks up, Miss Valentine. So she winds up, getting knocked out. And then Mr. 5 goes and comes at, and he's going to go and he's going to attack, and Usopp goes and comes and blindsides him, and he goes and hits him right in the mouth, with his super exploding star, right? And Mr. 5's like, you idiot, how many times have I told you that, or how many times do I have to prove to you that, I can blow up my body, or that type of stuff doesn't affect me, right? Well, Usopp goes and he's like, I was completely lying to you. That's actually my hot pepper sauce star. so you see Mr. 5 like, water. Because just imagine having like a bottle of Tabasco sauce like jammed down your throat and then breaking open in your stomach, and that's the only thing I can picture this as. So he's trying to get to water. Then he goes and he exclaims that he claims he's gonna blow himself up using his entire body. He's gonna basically turn his body into like a bomb because he can do that. And then we've kind of been waiting for this one over here. We get get Zoro that comes out, and he's just like flaming onigiri, and he just goes and turns into a cool looking little cyclone tornado and just jacks up Mr. 5 and takes him out completely. So all in all, a very, very fun chapter, because you kind of see one after another these villains that have been plaguing and bothering us with their mediocre powers for the last 10 or 15 chapters or what have you, finally kind of getting there, so to speak. So again, I thought it was comical the way everything was portrayed, and also done very well as far as the action scenes. But to move on over here, we wind up getting and seeing, and of course, then Broggy gets freed as well. The wax daggers melted that were in his hands, and everybody's kind of up and just sort of having their regroup meeting, and okay, good job, we did good. And then we get, and he says, oh, there's just 2 left, because of course there's Miss Golden Week and Mr. 3. And we wind up seeing Luffy, goes and is chasing him through the jungle. And he winds up catching up to him and coming upon him. But then it goes and it kind of spins around. I guess if there's a camera, it would be like it would have spun around, because then we get this page shot. And it's Mr. 3, like, kind of standing up against a tree. But there's like 100 Mr. 3s everywhere. So apparently he's able to, like, clone himself, I guess, with this wax fruit power. And the clones, I don't think are just like standing still clones or whatever. I'm assuming that they would have to move, because it looks like he's talking from a few different ones, trying to throw Luffy off, and he's like, yeah, and this is what it comes down to is he says, listen, I'm the brains, okay? I'm not going to get beaten by some oaf that just uses strength and raw instinct, This is, my deception and my thing. Try to figure out which one I am. And it's kind of funny because Luffy goes in without even hesitating and without even, having any type of... And that's usually how he is, just straightforward and to the point. Luffy goes and he's just like, Gomu, Gomu, stamp! And that's a newer move. We actually saw that just in the last chapter or a chapter before. And he goes and just stamps his foot out and just goes in and kicks Mr. 3 right in the frickin' face. And we hear him, like, as he's getting nailed, he's like, no! What? How did you know it was me? Because there's all these different clones, of course, around. How would he know which one it is? And his whole thing when he was taunting Luffy is he was kind of doing like a Bruce Lee from Enter the Dragon. If you've never seen the movie, go ahead and take a look at it. But there is a scene in there where there's something similar. It's like a hall of mirrors. And the bad guy's got like these Wolverine-like claws, and he's going to Bruce Lee, and he's like taunting him, and the echoes and everything like that, and able to come at him, and Bruce Lee's not able to tell because of all the different mirrors which one's the actual person. So this was it reminded me of it. It was a similar setup. And so Luffy winds up jacking him up, and and then when he goes and he says, and how did you know it was me? And Luffy goes and he's just like, instinct. And I like the whole thing too, because as Luffy was chasing after and catching up to him, he's basically like, I'm going to beat your ass because of you interrupting this honorable battle. I mean, he's still mad about the thing between Broggy and Dory being, the tides being turned in one or the other's favor, the weights being tipped, the balance, I guess, the balance being tipped, because it was really, really low down. I mean, it was what it was. It's all it was. It was not the honorable thing to do, to tip the scales one way or the other like that. And he's still pissed about that. So I think that's great. He's coming right at him. The chapter ends up shortly after that. So, I mean, everything gets wrapped up. Everybody's, getting taken out over there. I think Carue even goes and nails Miss Golden Week, if I remember correctly, because, she was trying to get away too or what have you. And Carue was trying to exact his vengeance upon them for capturing him and beating him up and torturing him. The chapter ends, though, if you remember last chapter, Sanji had finally decided to get off the boat and go and kind of see, hey, where is everybody? And it was mainly like, I bet you Vivi and Nami, miss me type of thing, or maybe they're in danger. He came upon the wax house that Mr. 3 had in the middle of the jungle over there where he'd set up shop. So we go to him in the wax house the last couple of pages, and he's sitting in there, and he's like, maybe I shouldn't, maybe they need me, maybe Vivi and Nami need me or something along those lines. And he's like, maybe I shouldn't just be sitting here sipping tea, right? So he's just sitting there relaxing. As he's about to get up and leave, he hears ring, ring. He's, what the hell, And he looks and he goes, oh, it's a snail telephone, So he goes and he answers it, and he's like, so-and-so crap restaurant, how can I help you? And then on the other end you hear, you're late with your report. And he's like, what report? Wait, who is this, And then he goes, and then it goes and it shows the last panel and page of the volume, of volume 14 over here, is it goes and it shows just kind of like the mouth, the face, and it says, it's me, you fool, or something like that, Mr. Zero. So we know that this is obviously kind of the first actual sort of appearance of Sir Crocodile, and it's actually, I think it's going to be really cool because from what everyone's told me, the lower numbered Baroque Works agents are pretty badass and really kind of ratchet everything up. So I guess my chapter question is over here. I certainly kind of enjoying when it picks up the pace like this over here. But my chapter question is what do you think about just about like the island itself? Okay, because clearly we're going to be wrapping up and leaving Little Garden pretty soon. Everybody's told me they really like it. I enjoy the whole idea of dinosaurs, saber-toothed tigers, all that sort of stuff. But honestly, I feel like the island was left unexplored. When Luffy, a couple chapters in, was standing on top of Brachiosaurus, and he was talking about caves in the distance and everything else, I was hoping that we were going to explore the island and find out there's going to be some cool mysteries to it that would get solved. Whereas really the last 10 or 15 chapters since this arc has gone on, or has started, has really been just kind of segregated to a couple of, no-name type areas on the island. And of course, you had to have the confrontation between the Straw Hats and Baroque Works. But what are your feelings on Little Garden? Do you feel that we should have explored it more? Do you feel, hey, no, it's cool. This is great. It was neat to see something different, So weigh in the comments down below. I like to always hear, hear from you, brothers and sisters, and what you think, because of course, we have difference of opinion on some things, and that's fine. That's great. And honestly, I kind of like the discussion, between us. So feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you think that I deserve it, and then subscribe if you haven't done so already. We will look forward to catching you, yes, you, in the next one, Nation.
If you're digging that vibe, make sure to subscribe. This very busty woman over here, she looks happy and she's saying, oh, please subscribe and you can see me all the time. Man, this is turning into a shit show.